Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. And in just a few minutes, we're going to continue talking about what recruiters can do for you and what you should know about recruiters. So many people don't really know what we do. And it's been that way since the 50 years that I've been doing this, 51 years that I've been doing it. I wanted to discuss overselling. Oh, this happened last week, and it's such a sad situation, really sad. I have a great candidate. Joe is a really good sales candidate. He's been very successful in just about every job that he's ever been in. And we got him a real good situation with a real good client. And he wanted to do the interviews so well and he wanted to get the job so badly that he oversold. And this is what I mean by that. He oversold to the point where he sold himself out of the job. He knew what the job was supposed to be and what he was supposed to demonstrate in the interviewing situation. He was supposed to demonstrate that he was a good salesman, that he had hit his quota in most every place he'd ever been, and that he was a real successful doing it. And he had been at every place that he'd ever been, he'd been real successful at, which he had been. But Joe wanted to make sure that he really communicated that he was excellent. So instead of just making a 30, 60, 90-day plan like they asked, Joe went in and made a 1-year plan. And he had it down. I mean, he described what he was going to do for a full year. And while he was at it, Joe decided to design a marketing program for the company. They didn't ask him for this, but he decided it was a good idea to design a marketing program to show how good at marketing he was. So he wrote up a 15-page marketing program. Actually, what he did was he copied a marketing program he had designed at another place he had been, but he thought that was going to be a great idea. So he took it into one of his interviews. It was a group interview. He went into the group interview and handed out this marketing program. Nobody asked him for it. And he's in the interview, he started describing how he was going to revamp the marketing program. He had talked to a number of the salespeople that were there in the company so he could get a better idea of what they had done and how successful they were. And he even included a program of how he could revamp the sales program, the sales design, how they could go about doing that. He talked to some of the customers and talked to the customer service manager and came up with some ideas about how he could rewrite the customer service program and how they could revamp the customer service program and make it a better program. Well, to make a long story short, Joe got into so many details about things he could do if they hired him that he oversold. And basically, they got afraid of him. They said, look, all we wanted was a senior sales guy. We just wanted him to come in and perform. We don't want a marketing program. We don't want a new customer service program. We don't want to revamp any of the programs we've got. And that might be nice somewhere down the line, but all we want's a guy or a person's just going to come in and perform sales. They said, in the final analysis, it's too much. It's too much. Joe doesn't need to do that. we don't need to hire somebody that's going to come in and revamp this and revamp that and change this and change that. We just need somebody to come in and sell. So they didn't hire him. They thought he was too overqualified for what they were looking for. They didn't want to do that. So be careful in your interviewing process that you don't oversell, that you don't sell too much, that you sell what they don't want. Now, Joe's going to go back in and try to revamp the whole or change their mind and help them decide that he is the guy that they ought to hire. He's going to try to tone it down, but it looks like they're afraid of him. This happens every once in a while. Just sell them what they want. A good performer. If you get in and want to perform better than in other areas than they need, and want to help them, fine, great. But Joe just plain oversold. He didn't need to do all this stuff. They got afraid of him. In fact, one of the people in the marketing department said, look, I already have enough bosses. I don't need somebody new coming in here telling me how I ought to do what I'm doing. I got enough problems. Even since the guy, Joe even commented to him that, how about if they come up with a different marketing type of program? He didn't need to do that. Joe was devastated because he thought he had nailed the job, but he hadn't. He overdid it. Just sell them what they're looking for. No more, no less. Find out what they need and sell that to them. But don't oversell because it leads to disaster. You can oversell just as easily as you can undersell. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashir with the Job Search Solution.